Cool, cool. I gave you guys both a quick synopsis. I don't know if you've seen any of the other ones that I've done. It's just a fun thing for me and for you guys to share things you're either struggling with or helpful things that have worked for you, that kind of thing. So I figured I'd just give the two of you an introduction to each other and others who are following along. So Bianca's got the darker glasses and Kristen's got the lighter glasses down there. So just a little bit of background. Bianca's been training with us for a couple of years now, right? One or
Yeah.
two, something like that. Mom, I think you've got two kids, college age, somewhere in that
Yes,
range.
I'm an empty nester.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then so you've got your kind of a cool journey with the like GLP-1, which I think would be a cool thing to share about your experience with
Sure.
that. And your ups and downs and motivation. It's just started with our circle community and kind of messing around with that 21-day challenge. So it seems like you're doing pretty well with that. So that's cool. And then on Kristen's on the other side of the spectrum, where you're a little bit newer in that like early, what, 3 to 6 month stage, starting to hit that end of that novice stage where your things are starting to get hard and life is now in a little bit more of a chaos situation as you guys are transitioning into this home buying, renovating, motherhood, balancing out your marriage and all of that and work. And you've got like a big mixture of stuff going on. And on that flip side, you're also in this cool spot where you've been a part of our circle community from the beginning and you've got something like 60 or 65 consecutive days of training now. So it's
Thank
cool to see something like that going on. So I guess, you guys are at different stages. That's why I thought you two would be a cool pairing. And this way you can share a little bit about yourselves. Maybe Bianca, why don't we kick off with you? Maybe just share what life looks like outside of the gym. Take us back to like when you first found us and why you're still around.
Yeah. So just a little bit about me. Thanks again, Jason, for inviting me to this great community. I'm so happy that I came across you. You're amazing and your
Mhm.
team and everybody. So I've always liked to exercise. I think I'm a product of the late 80s where aerobics came in. So I was always in a gym doing some kind of workout.
Getting your Jane
Oh,
Fonda on.
yeah, exactly right. That was me.
Yeah.
So I did that while that was still cool to do. But of course, it's hard. Exercise for me has always also been a challenge because I always struggle with my weight. At least I
Mhm.
thought I saw myself as always being overweight. But again, I guess it's always that the 80s, 90 culture that you need to be thin and it's fat free and all that. I'm in a much better place today because that's all in the past. I know that also being the age that I'm at, I've already been through menopause, been through that whole section of my life, going through different hormone imbalances. I think I'm at a place where I love the workout now. I love strength training more than I ever thought I would. There was a phase where I was a big cardio trainer too, where I got into the whole spinning movement back
Mhm.
when Johnny started the spinning bike. And I was huge in that. I loved it. I still do love spinning, but I feel like for my body, strength training is what I need to be doing because the other stuff that I was doing was causing so much injury, exhaustion.
Mm.
Like, why is it that I'm working out and I feel more tired? I'm supposed to feel more energetic. So the cardio for me stopped working.
Yeah.
So here I am, almost 2 years, maybe over 2 years at GTS. And
Yeah. Yeah.
before that, I did come across strength training through another gym,
Mhm.
but I got bored because I think their highest weight there was like 40 pounds, like more free weights. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
felt like I needed more of the challenge.
Yeah.
So that's where I found you guys, and I haven't stopped. It's been wonderful.
Very
Yes, it's
cool.
been up and down a little
Yeah.
bit. No real reason because I'm an
Yeah.
empty nester. I probably have too much time on my hand. That's probably my problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how about you, Kristen? How did you find us? What does life look like outside of the gym right now for you?
Yeah, I found you guys several months ago. I actually found you a little bit before I started, and then right after that, I crunched my finger in the garage door. So I put that on pause, and also while I started some physical therapy that I'd put off for a while.
That's right.
Yeah. You're like, we could probably work around it. And I'm like, I think I just need to focus on one thing at a time for a
Yeah.
second before I jump into it. But I had asked around. I finally made the decision to pursue strength training after kind of lurking and seeing of movement towards strength training for women in their 40s in particular and perimenopause, just kind of flooding my social media feeds.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me. I've never felt like I was one who could achieve the conventional image of a fit person. I've always been a little on the larger side. Even when I was young and athletic, I was definitely heavily into youth sports when I was a kid.
Hmm.
But I was always taller, more muscular, bigger boned, they would say.
Hmm.
So trying to pursue this thin image never really motivated me because I never
Yeah.
felt like something that was achievable. And then I started to see women who were focusing on being strong. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I've been strong in the past. I didn't feel strong recently. I let exercise fall by the wayside a long, 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 long time ago. And last year, when my current wellness journey began again, I said, okay, it's time to stop making excuses because I had a lot of excuses
Yeah. Yeah.
of why not to exercise and try to be fit. And so I asked around, and Kelly was in our neighborhood moms group, and
Oh,
she
that's right.
had mentioned GTS, and there were a couple of other mentions of other places, but I saw the master training camp, and that too also just really resonated with me, like teaching me how to do this thing that I wanted to do, but I had no idea how to go about it. So
Yeah. Very cool. And remind me too, I think you had some type of knee thing going on too when you first came in, right?
yeah, I had actually started swimming as my first endeavor into exercise once I decided I was going to do it. And I swam as a kid, so it wasn't new to me. I didn't have the same musculature as I used to. And it turned out that swimming breaststroke at full force did a number on my knee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't really go away on its own. So I'm like, I think I need to finally go get this looked at, and went to an orthopedic doctor who's just chalked it up to a strain and recommended physical therapy. So I did that first before I really jumped in with GTS. So
Cool.
had a little bit of baseline activation of those muscles uh,
Yeah.
going for a little bit there at a very low level for a couple of months first. And then I was like, I want to keep this going. And the physical therapist actually is a friend of Alex's, it turns out. It was just a
Oh, cool.
coincidence. He asked, where are you thinking about? And I mentioned, and he's like, I think that might be where my buddy works.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much like physical
Oh,
therapy
well.
crossover that we do.
Yeah.
So it's fun, especially in the master class we go through. Cool. Cool. I think there's so many interesting routes we can go through with the two of you guys, but maybe we start with, I think the big thing that most people struggle with is consistency and showing up, right? Maybe you can talk to me a little bit about your pain points, either before starting and currently where you're at now and your own journey, because it does. You get motivated. If you rely on motivation, right, you're going to go pretty far. And
Right.
then at some point, life will inevitably flare up, right? And so everyone experiences all sorts of different flare ups, whether it's injury or finances or sickness, whatever it is, job, something comes out, or boredom, really, even, right? So what are the types of things that you guys struggled with beforehand? And then also what are you struggling with now?
For me, not having accountability and really saying out to the world, I'm exercising. I need to be out there 2, 3 times a week. And I'm not saying that out there so that, because if you don't put that out there, nobody's going to come after you and say, oh, you missed.
Yeah.
I started doing that. And I think the circle is amazing. It really is pushing me. I have a little bit of a competitive edge too. So I just got to fill that in. Oh my gosh, day 6 today for me. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I need that. I need accountability.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day. It was like just a perfect
yes.
timing that you happened to be just struggling with it. And then
Oh my gosh.
also
So
you took
perfect.
to it really well too. You just jumped right in, which is very
Well,
cool.
I have to be careful because what I'm also learning about this thing is that it's not that you need to like intensely work out every day. It's just like you said, those 10 minutes, like just
Mhm.
intentionally start with 10 minutes, whatever that is, but you need to be intentional about it. You have to really, okay, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. Today I'm going to go out and I'm just going to go sprint for 10, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Not just, oh yeah, I casually bumped into some exercise. No, you have to be intentional about it. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think removing that barrier of the perfect workout, or I have to progress on everything, or I have to get my 10,000 steps in, or whatever that artificial success factor that we create is sometimes this big hurdle to actually doing something. And
Yes.
when you unburden yourself from that and you just say, all right, I'm just going to get this small little thing in every day and I can choose what direction I want to go in. I could always do more. And most of the time you do. It's like that. The hardest part is just getting started, I think, most of the time, right?
Yes.
Very cool. How about you, Kristen?
Yeah, prior to this, I had no motivation. Like I said, it was full of excuses. And so once I kind of got over that hump and I was like, okay, I am going to show up and do it. And here is a framework for me to go about it with the master training camp. And I think being signed up for the coaching program gave me X number of days that I was going to come. And one thing I hate is wasting. So, I'm not going to not come for those sessions that I paid for.
Yeah.
So that really helped. Another, I think, is definitely the vibe. Once I walk through those doors, the absolute acceptance from the coaches. They don't care that I hadn't really been doing anything for most of my adult life. And they're so supportive and encouraging. And then the other members at the gym are just so also friendly, helpful, supportive. And it's almost like, it's not like, it is an absolute component of my social life now to come to the gym and see the other people that I've met and made friends with there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like for us as the coaching staff, it's probably the most rewarding to have folks like you guys that come in, and maybe you're not the traditional weightlifting folks, right? But all of a sudden you've adapted this thing to part of your life. Especially, I always think of Jen and stuff. She starts using the vernacular. She's using like she's talking like a gym bro out of nowhere, right? Which is not like we're trying to do that, but you just become part of this new. You just start to identify as someone that goes to the gym, which I think is cool. Because I think half the battle in this stuff is changing your identity to I am someone that works out. I am someone that doesn't rely on motivation. I show up and I do these things, right? So, what are the reasons I'd say? So, if you were to dig into your whys, like why do you show up into the gym? Why are you going to do this thing when I'm not around?
Yeah, for me is health. I just turned 60 this year.
Mm,
Um, it was a bit of, for me, it was hard.
mm,
And I think for the first time, I realized, oh my gosh, I am getting older. But I don't have to feel old, or my body doesn't have to be old. I don't have to have diseases. I don't have to have inflammation. I don't have to have any of that. If I continue to invest in my health with my diet, what I eat, what I put in my body, how I
mm.
move my body, how I interact with the world, how I create community. So all these things are coming to a head right now at this stage of my life, especially because kids are gone. They're raising themselves now. I don't have to worry too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I do, they're doing their
Different
thing.
type of
So there's
worry.
really no excuse where I really need to. If I want to be living a long, healthy life, I got to do this now. It's
Yeah,
almost like there's no more excuses.
for sure.
That's the reason. And not to be thin, to be beautiful, to none of that, because that's all gone. It's really just to feel healthy and strong. That's my
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, yeah. And you might have grandkids in the next 10 years, so you got to be ready for them. I
Right.
think about that now. I'm like I'm barely prepared for my
Oh my God.
2-year-old, let alone his kids down the line. I'm like, "Oh man, I better start training for this. I got like 30 years to prepare for grandkids, right?"
Yes. Yes.
So how about you, Kristen? What does it look like for you right now?
Yeah. My whys are very much the same in terms of health. Like I said, the bombardment through the social media feeds about building, maintaining the muscle, and now is the time. Don't wait. It's will only get harder and muscle loss will just accelerate the older that I get. So now is the moment. And also though, my son is 10. He's
Mm,
very involved in sports. That's not an issue now, but like I said, I was too when I was a kid, but I didn't really keep that going. And so I think wanting to be a role model for my son as far as continuing with prioritizing health and movement and exercise and strength into adulthood, not just
yeah,
during
Yeah.
youth.
yeah, for sure.
Sure. Lead by example for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond that, especially recently, we just closed on a house and we're starting to do all the projects. The week that we had scheduled all of the inspections, was so stressful for me. And I was like, I was just dying to get in. I'm like, I need to get into the gym. Like, never before. That's never a word that a phrase that I said before.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, I need to go and be there. That is my place where I feel like I have some agency and some control because what was happening outside of the gym just felt so stressful and chaotic that it was really a place that I could feel like I was doing something for myself and getting back some feeling of loss of control. I'm a financial planner by profession, and it may seem odd that I'm stressed out by buying a house. We have a condo now that we own, but jumping to a house is it's literally a big jump in the financial picture too. So it's
Yeah.
just been a lot of emotional weight in terms of making this transition. So the
Plus,
gym
it's
is
like one of the most stressful things you go through in life is buying a house or
Oh,
moving, those kind of things, right? Kids.
100% I can attest
oh,
that this is accurate.
Yeah, especially
yes.
when I know you've got like renovations and inspections involved and all that kind of stuff too. So it's just like, yikes.
Yeah.
But you had a really cool story the other day that made me really proud of you when you were telling me how maybe you can talk a little bit about this, but you were saying how your husband was caught in traffic, right? And you had your gym scheduled, and it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
bro, you need to get home. Yeah.
I, I was so upset. He left on time from the office to be able to make what is basically on a normal day, an hour and a half drive home to pick up our son. I dropped him off at karate. He's going to be at karate for an hour. My husband is going to pick him up. And so then I was headed to the gym. And basically, as soon as I left the parking lot, my husband's like, "Oh no." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "We're stopped." I'm like, "They're gonna do the traffic break. You'll get going in a minute. It's gonna be fine." And he's like, "No, no." I'm still driving toward the gym because I'm like, you're not, I'm going to the gym. I hadn't been able to make it in as often as I wanted to in like the 2 weeks prior because of the house purchase and the
Mhm.
inspections and everything. There's just too much going on. And I was only going twice a week and only getting one heavy lift in instead of the 2 to 3 that I had been for the past few months. And so
Mhm.
this was like, I know I scheduled it. I'm going. You need
Mhm.
to. And he's not going anywhere. He's in an absolute standstill traffic. Unfortunately, there was a fatality and they had an
Yeah.
ongoing investigation. So he
Mhm.
was not going anywhere. He wasn't being airlifted out of there by a helicopter or anything. And so I said, okay, I think I can still, you have a very generous cancellation policy, by the way, Jason. I don't
Oh,
know.
thank you. Yeah.
I know. You guys are very
It-
flexible. We
yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's LA. Everyone's
Life
got like
happens,
crazy
life
things that
happens.
happen, right? So,
Yeah, I hate having to cancel last minute like that, but I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I've got to do because you're not going to make it back in time. So I did it very frustratingly, and I was angry with my husband. He's like, I can't control the traffic. I'm like, I know, but I'm upset. And so once I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to make it to the gym and I canceled, I was headed home. I'm like, maybe I can get dinner started. And I was passing the track. And I said, I can go to the track. That is
yeah,
within my control. I've been doing sprints at the end of my workouts on the air bike. And I'm like, I've been wanting to try doing it on the track. And so I went and I did a sprint workout in the 30, 40 minutes I had before I needed to go back and pick up my son. And so,
perfect. Yeah, it's like we were
all right.
talking about that ability to pivot, right? Because
Yeah.
I think a
Yes.
lot of times people associate us with just like the gym, and if I can't make it to the gym, there's no value in this thing. But I think when we have a community and we've got an all-encompassing program that involves, hey, we encourage you to do like you've got 64, 65 days of consecutive training that weren't all in the gym, right? You did walks, you did some stretching mobility work. There was like a lot of things that you were doing. And so I think that's the really cool thing too about our circle community, our online community is just seeing all the different variations of exercise. Because I don't really care if any type of physical training is good with me. I just think it's just good for your mental health, not even just your aesthetics or just the physical benefits aside. Your mental health is just, I'm just a better human being to be around.
Yeah, I think
I
one
hope.
one
Yeah.
exercise helps the other. Like I've noticed that since I've started strength training, my yoga is a lot better.
Mhm.
I feel much stronger in yoga, but also yoga helps me with my strength training
Yeah.
because it makes me more mobile, more flexible. It all helps, and I see the benefits. My blood tests are always coming, it's like the best it's ever been in years.
Yeah.
My muscle mass, my doctor impressed, like, wow, my bone mass, they're like, you have the bone mass of a 23-year-old. So,
Mhm.
and I attribute that to strength training. And she agrees. She goes, yes, you keep doing what you're doing because it's working for your body.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing like actual results of what I'm doing when I do it. So there, you can't stop. The body is a beautiful thing. It really responds beautifully when you treat it well,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
diet, with exercise, with love. It
Yeah.
really is a beautiful thing. I've learned to appreciate my body so much more than I used to. Yeah, when you're kind to it and you do the right things for it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the cool thing is you get into it initially probably because of body fat loss or getting stronger muscle or whatever it is that you get into, right? And a lot of these things are just lagging indicators of your habits. You're not really in control of when your body lets go of the weight, the body fat, or how much muscle it puts on, or at the rate at which it gets stronger, but you're really in control of just showing up. And
Yeah.
that's really, I think, this kind of next phase of business for us is really just getting people to be consistent, stopping that or breaking that start stop cycle of training where they're going up and down and stopping all the time, is like just figuring out how to maintain progress during
Yeah.
times of chaos, because
Yeah.
it doesn't take much energy to maintain a skill, pivot, and be able to do another thing. You couldn't make it to the gym, so you just did this other thing, right? And so when life opens up, you'll be back on track and you'll be able to make progress again, but you're holding on for dear life right now, right, Kristen? The other thing I want to touch on too, and Bianca, you have like a very cool story of your like kind of GLP-1 journey. And you, I
Yeah.
think, did it really well compared to a lot of people that just let the injections do the work and then they eat like crap, right? And then they don't train and they lose all their muscle mass and that kind of thing. And I think you did it really well based on that, an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
And then you also successfully transitioned off of it too. So maybe you can talk a little bit about your story
So
there.
I've heard of when this first thing came in the market. I have a hormone doctor that I've been working with for many years. And she was the one who brought it up, like, oh, I'm having successes with this GLP. Do you want to try it? And this was about 3 years ago. And I said, not really. Let's
Mm,
just work on the hormone. Let's just do that. It was too new for me. And plus, the insurance wasn't covering it. It was a financial thing for me, too.
mm,
Um, but eventually, I transitioned into another doctor because my original one retired, and she brought it up again, this new doctor. And in these 3 years that I've been with this other doctor, I've been with you guys. I was working out before, doing my yoga, and thought I was eating right, and the weight just wasn't coming down. It
mm.
did come down, and then it just stopped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the frustration of that, and my body had inflammation, my cholesterol was high, and I have cholesterolemia. It's a family. I mean, no matter what I do, I just make a lot of cholesterol.
Mm,
It doesn't go away no matter what. But that was higher than ever, even with me exercising, with me watching my diet. My hormones were unbalanced. I had a problem with my thyroid. I have a little bit of a Hashimoto's, and my markers for inflammation were high.
mm,
And no matter what I did. So with this, I'm like, you know what? Let me try it. Let's do it. And though she walked me through it, she goes, I won't put you on it if you don't have the right muscle mass. Because the thing with these drugs is that you will lose weight,
yeah.
period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure enough, I did the test for my muscle mass. She goes, oh, great. But I had already been working with you guys for about a year.
Yeah.
So my mess was great. She goes, you're a great candidate. Let's start super low. It's tirzepatide. It's the equivalent of Mounjaro.
Mm,
So I said, okay. It was just miracle for me from day one. Like I started at a really low dose
mm,
and I increased it super slowly. So this was back in May of 2024, 2024. Yeah.
24. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw the weight coming down, but I had to be very intentional about eating protein. She was very strict about you got to eat your protein because you're going to lose weight, you're going to lose muscle mass as well. So more than ever, you have to keep going to the gym, you have to keep
Yeah.
lifting weights, and you have to keep your intake of protein high. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. Sure enough, 6 months into it, I did my next blood tests. My cholesterol was down tremendously. Body
So it
fat
wasn't the
came down,
protein's fault, but
right?
we got the
Yeah.
inflammation down, all that kind of stuff, right?
Inflammation went, there is no inflammation. My thyroid was great. I reduced my thyroid medication. So everything was working. My
Yeah.
cravings were gone. I really did have to make an effort to eat because
Mm,
you're not hungry. So if you are going to eat, you better eat something good because if you eat a bag of cookies, yeah, that's going to get rid of your hunger but that's empty calories.
yeah. Yeah.
So I had to be a lot more intentional about what
Yeah.
I was eating, how I was eating, when I was eating. I don't know. It's been life changing for me.
Yeah.
The food noise is gone. But just to see those numbers on my blood tests that told
Mm,
me that it did something for me, that was very exciting to me. The weight loss almost became secondary. Yes, the clothes were fitting. I had to buy new clothes and all that. But yeah, it's been wonderful. And then once I reached my weight that I wanted to reach,
Mhm.
And granted, I never went to the high dose that usually people go to. I started at 15, 25, 30, 35 to the 50 was my marker, my dose. And that's when I stopped. And then I start going down until I really didn't need it anymore. So it's been almost like 18 months now.
Yeah, that's great.
And the doctors, Bianca, it's here for you when you need it if you feel like you're going to fall off. So she said that I could do it, like maybe take a shot every 3 weeks if I need to,
Mhm.
just really micro dosing. But let's just look at your numbers and see your blood test. So every 6 months I see her. And if I feel like I need it, I know I can always go back to it. But
Yeah.
I haven't gained weight. I mean, it hasn't gone back.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
I think you and I were talking about the fact that I think you were on it long enough where you changed a lot of your habits, right? Because
For
I
sure.
think a lot of times we do things with friends and family. Our social situations are all wrapped around food and drink. And I think it was you that told me that you started pivoting and you started because it's not like you're like hungry for stuff. You're not going to go out and eat dinner. So you maybe do something like a walk or you meet up for coffee instead. And so I feel like you morphed your habits a little bit out of that temptation zone that people get in. Now it was long enough where now you're carrying on those habits moving forward, which
Yeah.
probably makes it easy.
Yeah.
And like I said, you said, like you started with some of this, like the strength training, kept the muscle mass on first, because I think if you don't use it, you lose it
Yeah.
very quickly. And I think after 20 years old, you realize that very quickly. Like if you're not like being athletic or you're not moving your body in large
Good.
ranges of motion, keeping a stimulus from a strength or muscle building perspective, your body's, I'm good. I don't need this stuff. Let's get rid of it.
Yes. Yes.
So I think the fact that you're intentionally focused on that was great. And to
Yeah.
your point too, I think it's so hard in my experience in the last 16 years training women and men, and it is way easier for men to lose weight than it is for women.
Yes.
I can like have guys pull out half and half and they're like, oh, okay, look at me. Like I just dropped like 10 pounds or whatever. Whereas women, the margin of error is so small. And I think most people just over or underestimate their calories in general. Until you start weighing and measuring your food, it's a very eye-opening experience of like how
Yeah.
wildly off we are. And even me, I've been doing it forever. And I think I might have told the story here or someplace else, but before one of our challenges that we did, I got into this habit of having pretzels, which are a relatively low calorie treat. And I would put them in this little cup and I would have at one point started off to be like a serving or a serving size or two. And then at some point I was just like, I stopped measuring and then I was doing it like twice a day. And then I was like, oh, I should probably, before we get back onto this next nutrition challenge, I should probably just see what I'm having. And it turns out I was probably having anywhere from 600 to 1,000 calories of pretzels alone per day.
Right.
And which just, it looked so small too. When you start weighing and looking at what an actual serving size of pretzels is, and it's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
And then with women too, I just find that like you could, eat in a deficit all week long, and then you
Yeah.
go out once or twice on the weekend and you have pretty much 2 days or 3 days worth of calories in one meal, and you wash out your entire deficit for the week. And it ends up being so frustrating for women trying to lose weight because you're just like, I feel like I'm working so hard for 4 or 5 days and I
Yeah.
have one cheat day, right? Or I have one meal out and it just washes out all my hard work. Yeah, I've told other people about this, but the most success I've had with women in weight loss has been, I used to do this thing, it was called Optavia, or it had a couple different names. It was like Take Shape for Life or Optavia, whatever. But basically what they did was you'd buy these packaged foods they were like 100 to 110 calories each. And they were high in protein, low in fats and carbs, but they were prepackaged. And they tried to
Yeah.
make some of it organic, but it was basically processed food, right? And you'd
Yeah.
have
So
five of these snacks and you'd buy a month of supply in advance and you have different variations and flavors of different things or whatever. And then you'd have one lean and green meal a day. So I think it was like five of these 100, 110 calorie things and then one protein and veggies for the day. And by the
yeah.
time you ate the protein and veggies, it was like candy, right? Because you're just eating like this bagged stuff or packaged stuff. And the goal wasn't necessarily to be on this thing forever, but it just made it easy. There was no thinking. You literally just go into a box and you eat this thing. And I can't tell you, it's probably been the most successful I've ever seen women and weight loss because it took the calories down to like somewhere between
Yeah.
800 to 1,000 calories, which is essentially what these GLP-1s do, like the trizepatide stuff. Like you're not hungry, so your calories come down so low. And then the beauty of it is you're part of a group or a coach that's checking in on you. So you have some
Yeah.
level of accountability to stay on track. And then the goal, like in the end game, is once you lose the weight that you need, you transition back to maybe 3 lean greens and something else. And then eventually you transition back off into whole food. Inevitably, it would always be like I'd have so many people making great success with it. And then they'd tell their friends about it, and their friends would be like, "Oh, you're eating processed food. You're gonna die," or something, or you're like something extreme, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," and then they'd quit. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, it's just a means to an end." What
Yeah.
you use the trizepatide for is you're using
Yeah.
it with a purpose. You're getting to an end, and you're transitioning to a healthier lifestyle. But it
Yeah.
just makes it easier to transition, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, seeing the benefits that it does, not just to make you lose the appetite, but other things that it's doing to my body. That's probably what actually got me very excited.
yeah,
My markers are going down, and you could say, oh, it's because you're eating less calorie. I don't think it does something to your body where it does affect my calorie intake, and or I mean my, I don't know, why is the inflammation gone? Because I would consider myself a healthy eater
hmm,
even before this. I'm
yeah,
very whole grain. Maybe it was just the quantity was too much,
yeah,
but it was still whole food and all that stuff.
yeah,
Anyway, I'm not
yeah,
saying it's for everybody, but it
yeah.
it really did work for me.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times the devil's in the dosage, right? I think there's so many things that are probably healthy for you until you hit a certain threshold, right? I tell a story like I grew up on bread all the time. We're the Italian family in New York, breads, pastas. It was like committing
Yes.
carbicide at all time. And then it was in that time where like low fat food, so everything was like high carb. And so I
Oof.
used to grow up with this inflammation in my nose. Like I could not breathe. I had multiple nose surgeries where like to improve my breathing and nothing really helped. And then I remember at some point going to like more of a paleo style diet and removing bread. And all of a sudden my nose cleared up and I was like, holy
Yeah,
crap, this is amazing. Maybe there's something to this inflammation thing, right? And I don't know if it was gluten or who knows what it actually is.
right.
I wouldn't pinpoint it on anything, but I just know that when I hit a certain threshold of maybe sugar or maybe bread or whatever it is, there's this inflammation that I start getting. And it's probably fine if I have
Okay.
it in like normal quantities, but I am one of those people that overconsume on things, right? Because that's what I do. 3 brothers, we all fought for food and would have eating competitions and stuff. And if I didn't eat it, they would. So it's feast or famine, right? Okay, we're probably like close to the end here. Before we go, if you like knowing what you know now, where you're in, there's someone, a woman out there that's on the fence of either doing some strength training, maybe joining us. What advice would you give to them in terms of like them just starting out on their journey?
I
Kristen, you
think,
want to take this one?
sure. For me, it would be it's don't keep putting it off for
Mm,
another day. Don't let perfect get in the way of good.
mm,
It's better to start somewhere. It doesn't have to be a perfect program. Just start doing something and
yeah,
start doing it regularly.
mm,
Um, because if you wait for things to be perfect, years can go by. So
mm.
just do it.
Yeah. I always like this thing. I heard this guy say this once called instead of ready, aim, fire, it's ready, fire, aim. So launch first. I think of things as more, I think of it more as a heat-seeking missile versus a bow and arrow, where you got one shot to aim and shoot. I think just getting us moving and then adjusting fire as we go is the way to go.
Yeah.
Because I agree. Like how many times, even at the start of this book that I'm doing right now, but it was one of those things where I put it off for so long. And then all I needed to do is just get started. And I read someone that they successfully just voice memoed something into a phone and just dumped their entire brain into this thing and then transcribed it and started organizing it from there. And I was like, I could do that. That's how it all started. And then all of a sudden I've got that ability to show up and commit to different things.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballed from there. And then who knew? Like I would be this far along into something that seems such a daunting task. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a
Yeah.
leap of faith. Jump in, and it kind of works itself out. Just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Do you have any other advice, Bianca, in terms of
I think
folks that are
Kristen said it well. Just don't wait for perfection. Just start. Even if it's just walking outside your door and going for a walk around the block, just move your body. somehow, somewhere. Don't wait, just do it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it, because that's me. I overthink. It has to be perfect. Like, and then you do nothing. So just leap of faith. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned something forward too about putting it out there into the ether that I'm doing this thing. So it keeps you accountable. Like you don't want to be that person that is not a person of their word, right?
Yes.
So sometimes actually putting it out there or being involved in a community or a friend or whatever it is that you have like an accountability buddy, if you don't want to be a part of like a more formal environment, I think is kind of the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you, for
Yeah.
your time and your brains and everything like that. I appreciate you both. Thank you. And grab t-shirts on me next time you're into the gym. I got the new ones actually just came in today, so there should be some this week. But as a thank you for all of your
course.
brain power
Thank
today.
you. I just want to thank you and your staff and your team. Everybody's so wonderful. I just love them all.
Oh, thanks.
Same. Thank you, Jason. Really appreciate being part of what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And that wasn't just for the t-shirt, right? You actually mean that stuff, right? Okay.
From the bottom of my heart,
Yeah,
seriously.
from the bottom of my heart.
Cool. Well, thanks. You guys did great. If there's anything that you want me to take out, you just let me know and I'll shoot it over to you in a couple days when I get some edits and stuff done. So
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jason.
all right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Kristen. See
Nice
you
to meet
next
you. Bye.
time. Bye.